यस तुषार, प्लीज तुषार स्टार्ट कीजिए।
Okay, well, once again, welcome to the second session. And today's our guest is Professor Felix Bast, sir. Professor Felix Bast is currently based at Department of Botany, Central University of Punjab, as a professor. He is a member of the high-profile advisory committee of the Paris-based International Science Council and elected fellow of the Linnean Society, London, and a member of IUCN Geneva. A BSc gold medalist, he holds PhD in marine biology from MEXT, Japan. Uh, so it is also alumnus of Japanese government international doctoral fellowship and served as an expedition scientist in the Indian Antarctic mission. First discovers a new marine algae and moss species from India and Antarctica. He served as an in-residence intern with the President of India at Rashtrapati Bhavan, New Delhi, and received President Inspired Teacher Award, Teacher Recognition in the year 2015. The prestigious Teaching Innovator Award from the Ministry of Education in the year 2020. He has become the advisor to UPSC in the year 2024. He is an alumnus of IIT Bombay, Friday Harbor Laboratories, University of Washington, USA, and Marine Biological Association of UK Laboratories, Plymouth, UK. He served as a guest scientist at the Leibniz Center for Tropical Marine Research, Bremen, Germany, during the year 2018-19. For research and dissemination purpose, he visited 26 countries. He has over 135 peer-reviewed papers, published 8 books, uh, total 17 research projects sir has completed with 2.8 crore rupees and guided 16 PhD students. Professor Bust advocates a sustainable lifestyle, a primary focus of his work. He has no car and never plans to own one. Instead, he is an avid cyclist who often commuted to his workplace by cycle. He is also a frequent blood donor and an advocate of zero waste and low carbon footprint lifestyle. He has also signed up for the posthumous organ and whole body donation for medical research through MOTO, the government of India. So such a eminent personality is with us to guide for the second session of our refresher course in basic science. I welcome sir and thank you once again to the organizer. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, sir, Professor Chandu and Professor Chandok and Professor, yeah, so whoever has invited, sir. Well, Sanjeev, right? Professor Sanjeev Pandey, Dr. Sanjeev Pandey. And yeah, it's a privilege to be part of this program. And I'm glad to hear that your program is focused towards science teachers, right? Science faculties all around India. And the topic which I'm going to discuss today is about NEP 2020. I hope every one of you know about this NEP 2020, right? This is a policy document by the government of India. And the document is visionary and to which direction we should take our country's education system into. That is this document all about. It is a very small document, only like 60 pages, right? In one afternoon, you can read this. If you haven't, please have a look at it, okay? And yeah, so I'm also happy to see that this is being organized by Jabalpur. Yeah, so a place where I have been last year, and I'm planning to come in within next 1 month. Right, next month there is a conference in Sagar, so I'm planning to come to Jabalpur too. Right, okay. So without further ado, let's talk about the topic. The NEP. Yes, somebody is saying something. Yeah, right. Yeah, let's jump into the topic. So the topic is critical thinking, which is part of the NEP 2020, right? If you search this term, critical thinking, inside NEP 2020, you will see several instances where this term appears. So this document, the NEP 2020, argues for teaching critical thinking to everyone, especially the faculties, science faculties. Now, how many of you have any clue what this subject is all about, critical thinking? So that is what this session is for. Okay, so it will give an overview of this topic. So where should I start? Perhaps with Einstein, right? So Einstein was invited once for graduation ceremony in Princeton. Of course, he is from Princeton, nearby college. And then one of the audience, he wanted to test his memory power. So he asked him, what is the speed of light, right? Exact speed of light. How much do you remember? And Einstein said that, well, I don't remember these things. These are just facts, right? It's sheer memory power. He said that, well, it is readily available in the books. You can check out the books. I don't remember these things. If he is alive today, he would have said that, well, it's available in the internet. Go check it out, right? Then he said, the value of university education is not to memorize, these facts, but to train your minds to think. See that epic answer. Train the mind to think. That is what the critical thinking all about. Training the mind to think properly, to think without any biases. So many biases in our subconscious level affect our decision making. We make several decisions every single day. For example, you're watching an advertisement in the TV. Should I trust that ad or not? Is it worthy to believe it? The news that you come across in WhatsApp, it could be very well a fake news, right? So how to believe or how not to believe? All these things are decisions that we make. Decisions also include while writing a paper, you have certain data in your mind. You got some data from experimentation. How to make sense of it? Of course, you have to decide. For example, in statistics, you have to decide, is it statistically significant or not, right? Or reading a paper, a research paper, you have to make a decision. The interpretation is correct or not, isn't it? While voting in general election, we all did the voting, isn't it? That is also a decision that we make to whom to commit our franchise, right? To whom to vote for in a general election, whom to get married. Every single decision that we take in our life are influenced by various biases, yeah, so to tell you one such bias, so I will just introduce a few biases as part of this session, just to give an overview how these biases are, ubiquitous. It's everywhere. The problem is that we think that we are smart. You see, we all think that we know everything, but unfortunately, that belief is wrong. Socrates, the famous Greek philosopher, he said, I'm the wisest man living in Athens because I know one thing, that I know nothing. He's accepting that I know nothing. So that humility is really needed to be a learner lifelong, you see. But what happens is that when you get a PhD, we all have the same issue, right? When you get a PhD or an MBBS or an MTech, once you get a job, then you think, okay, that is the end point of study. Why should you study further? No need. Time to work. That mentality is anti-critical thinking. So Einstein also famously said, the day you stop learning, you start dying. The death start from the day you stop learning. Extremely important for critical thinking point of view. So critical thinking, if at all there is a symbol or an emoji, that emoji would have been question mark, right? Question everything without proper evidence, believe in nothing. That is what a critical thinking, right? That is exactly what our Indian civilization is also about, right? The discourse happened during the the time of great hermits in the Vedic era, right? There are a lot of debates. It's not just one-way communication, but it is two-way. The Gurukul system is always like that. The pupil are encouraged to question, right? Ask several questions. So questions matter more than the answers in critical thinking. Well, to tell you one example, could you please mute your, please mute, right? If you're not speaking. Yeah. To give an example, well, I did my PhD in Japan. I was a government scholar. After that, I came back India, right? So in 2010, I came here to get this job here in Bathinda in Punjab. And during those initial years, I had a fever. So I went to a doctor and the doctor prescribed some medicine. I have had a bad habit those days. I still have it. So whenever a doctor prescribe, I want to check it out, how it actually works or what kind of medicine is it. I'm curious. That day also, I did the same exercise. I searched out in a Google. And the hit came, the first hit was a PDF document, PDF file from Government of India. It is Gazette of the Republic. I opened, I was curious. And in the Gazette, it says that particular medicine was banned in the Republic 5 years before that day. Look at the travesty. If you're not updated, you are dead. That is the situation, actually, because we think that we know everything. That is something called Dunning-Kruger bias, a cognitive bias. Really dumb people with low IQ think they know everything, while really smart people have a lot of self-doubt. Imposter syndrome, that is also a bias. Imposter syndrome, very common. Even Nobel Prize winners feel that they don't know anything at all. So at this onset, let me take you to some of the biases, a common bias, a few biases. Again, back to Japan. Japan, as you know, it is a G7 country to the size of like our Uttar Pradesh, right? And super rich. And G7 is basically a group of 7 countries which are uber powerful in the world, right? And very rich too. So these countries, a very interesting paper came out in 1990s. The paper looked at breast cancer incidence in these countries. These are really rich countries, okay? G7 countries include like Germany, France, Canada, US, Australia, UK. All these countries are the G7. In these countries, the G7 country, breast cancer is high. And immediately after the publication of this paper, many interpretations came. In the media, several newspapers around the world argued what would be the purported reasons for it. So what would be the purported reasons for this discrepancy or disparity? Any one of you among the audience, I can see 56 participants here. Anyone please unmute and speak. I want to make this a little bit interactive. So rich countries have more cancer, especially breast cancer. What's going on? What is your thought about it? Anyone, please unmute. It could be wrong answer, no issues, but I want to make it a bit interactive.
Okay. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Dr. Nias.
Dr. Niaz. So I have little bit information about breast. Basically, there are different classes of breast cancer, like TNBC triple negative.
Yes.
So it is most prevalent in Asian continent.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So we don't have, as of now, there is no cure for this breast cancer. I mean,
No. I'm not asking about the breast cancer to explain. I'm asking why the breast cancer incidence is high in G7 countries. That is what the paper argued.
okay.
They did
Sir,
this.
I think so
Yes,
India.
anyone? Yeah.
I think
Sir,
India. Sir.
Yes, sir.
I think, sir, due to say excessive use of medicines, there or due to say unhygienic food intake, maybe I wrong.
Yeah,
there
interesting.
May be there may be the hormonal changes and
Hormonal
whatever
change.
it may be.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that is the
so
first
it may
answer I'm getting.
causes the-
Yeah.
so
Yes,
I think
yes.
so, sir.
Yeah. Any other answer coming up? What would be the reason? Rich people have more cancer, while poor countries don't have much. Yes?
Sir, because of more use of steroids, sir.
Come again?
Because of more use of steroid drugs.
Steroid. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Well, steroids is usually by the sportsman, right? The high endurance sports. Well, I'm saying about the breast
Right.
cancer, usually for
Right,
the
sir.
ladies, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So what would be the reason for it? Well, anyway, if I ask this question to my student, I teach critical thinking here for the PhD students as well as for the masters. So if I ask, and also I deliver this kind of talk so many places for the FDPs, a common answer that comes, a recurring theme is that these rich countries, they have a sedentary lifestyle, because they all drive a very nice car, four-wheel
Right, sir.
drive.
Right,
And
right.
where is the time for, going like walking, like the farmers in India,
Yes,
they typically
yes.
do a lot of physical labor, right? And everything
Right.
is machinized, like the robots, like that, right? And that could be a reason. Another typical answer that comes up is about their food habit. The rich country, the like Western food is mostly junk food, isn't it? So that is the reason.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, in Kerala, I'm from Kerala, basically. Our government, the LDF government, introduced something called junk food tax. And according to him and his government, junk food is basically the food which has foreign names, like pizza, spaghetti, or pasta, right? Or burger or sandwich, everything is junk food. But how about our samosa? Not junk food. Chicken biryani is not junk food. So that is a biased, right? You shouldn't classify based on the foreign or Indian, right? So anyway, forget that. These two are the answers usually that comes up in the discussion, but that is not the case actually. So
Just a minute, hold on.
yes.
Excuse me, sir. So, do we have any correlation that suggests us that it is directly linked to sedentary lifestyle? That means
No, no.
we may
I'm
find
saying that these,
other regions
yeah.
where
These
the
are,
sedentary lifestyle.
yes. Yes, Dr. Nia,
So-
I'm saying that these are the purported reason that audience say, right? That is not the answer. The answer is something else, right? So I am just discussing, these are some of the common answers that usually the audience bring up. And also one of you brought up about the hormone. That is also pretty interesting because the G7 countries are rich and usually they go for hormonal replacement therapy, right? HRT. But again, HRT, usually the people go after menopause, right? But this is breast cancer is usually the young people also get a lot of breast cancer in G7 country. So what is happening? Now we have two variables. One is breast cancer prevalence. Another is G7 country, rich country. What is happening? Somebody want to say anything? I heard some. Yeah, if not, then
So,
I will.
there could be multiple variables. Like the main variable, I think it will be genetic.
Yeah, genetics. Yeah.
Genetic. That is a more prevalent. I mean, you may
But
find.
then why only rich countries have more cancer? Poor countries have a different set of genetics that
Yes,
makes them
it could be,
less vulnerable.
it
All
could be.
BRCA1, BRCA2 positive in
Yes.
those countries.
Mm,
That might not be the case. Anyway, I will come to this in a while.
Okay,
Let
okay.
me take you to another paper from the US. Okay, it is in 1970s. Very interesting paper. The paper looked at drowning. Drowning, I'm sure everyone knows, right? Death by water sports, right? Water activities. Like you go for a swimming in a pond, then you don't know swimming, then you drown, right? That is very common. So death by drowning with ice cream sales. So whenever ice cream sales are high, death by drowning is also high. That's pretty interesting, right? It's a correlation between death by drowning and ice cream sale. What is happening here? Anyone have any thought about this problem? Why ice cream sale is correlated with or associated with drowning cases? Well, it's everywhere. The paper is from the US, but it can be the same thing anywhere in the world. So all these are problems with our perception. The human mind, we take a lot of shortcuts, right? So intuitive answer that comes to your mind might not be true. So the so-called cliche is to think out of box, right? That exactly is the critical thinking all about. Here, what is going on? Ice cream sale and Drowning. Anyone? I'm sure some of you can come. I mean, you can actually, you might have got the right answer for this problem. All right. What is happening here is a third variable causing effect on both of these variables. The two variable which we are talking about is ice cream sale and drowning. What is the third variable that is causing effect on both? Season. Summer season. So people go for swimming during the summer month. And ice cream sale is also high during the summer month. That is the reason why these two are correlated. So one of the biggest problems in critical thinking is the statistical problem, rather. It's called illusory correlation bias. Illusory correlation bias. So we think that whenever we hear this correlation, we automatically conclude it is because of causation. No, correlation or association does not mean causation. That is extremely important. Recently, I was reading a very interesting paper. Paper is about among the teenage people, the depression, right? And they were looking at depression levels and social media use. We have two variables, social media use and depression level. So those teenagers who use a lot of social media tend to be more depressed. Okay, randomly I ask this question again. Any one of you can say what would be the reasons? Anyone, please speak up.
Yes, because of social media, any person that gets a lot of exposure about the, world, there could be, he compares, try to compare himself.
Yeah, comparing, right? Comparison is very bad,
So
isn't
that
it?
comparison
Others,
skills.
yeah.
Comparison skills.
Some comparisons are bad,
Because,
some are good. For example, if you're comparing yourself with your peers which are less fortunate, it's good. But if you're comparing with more fortunate people who are taking foreign holidays and whatnot, right? Whatever you miss in your life.
We don't usually
Yes,
compare
yes,
with
sir.
the people who are
Right,
not
sir, right.
us.
Yeah.
So we usually compare with the
Yeah.
people.
Apart from comparison, any other reason? Anyone want to speak anything? Please unmute and
So,
speak.
sir, what will be the social issues that they are say focused on these say social media sites? So
Yeah.
these teenagers, they having less maturity and they correlate themselves with these issues and try to say, you can say some violence like activity, or you can say they say
Yeah. I think,
yes,
yeah,
sir.
you're talking about negativity bias.
Negativity.
Social media is
Right,
mostly
yes, sir.
negative
Yes,
news,
sir.
right? Even media, right? You turn on a TV, every single day's news is full of
Yes, sir.
negative news, right? So that
Yes,
makes
sir.
people more depressed,
More
isn't it?
depressed.
That is
Yes.
your
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right.
Anyway, we can do this kind of inventive reasons because we already jumped to conclusion that social media is causing depression. Remember, we are talking about illusory correlation bias. Whenever you see
Right.
two variables are correlated or associated, never attribute causality to it. If you attribute the causality, you're wrong. So that is the funda about it. So you heard about two variable. One is teenage social media use and then depression level. Well, we too have two variable. They are correlated, fine. Don't extend it. Don't make a theory that, okay, this is because of, because the social media is causing depression. No. How about vice versa? Have you thought about vice versa? So whenever you hear this correlation, always think vice versa. What would that be? What is that vice versa? Anyone please tell me?
Contrast.
Yes.
Positive correlation, or in other words, contrast when we think otherwise.
Yeah, what is that? What is the thinking otherwise? That is exactly the critical thinking. I'm just trying to make you think about it. So what is that? The other way around. One way is that social media is causing depression.
Yes.
The other way, what is the other way?
And correlating one of the factors, it may cause depression.
Yes. Yeah, that is what. Social media is causing depression is one way. What is the vice versa?
Vice versa means social media does not cause
No,
depression.
no. You're not getting it. Social
sir,
media
may
is causing depression.
may I-
Yes, anyone? Yes.
because they are already depressed. That's why they are using
Yeah,
social media.
Milind, Dr. Milind, you got it right. So depressed people are more prone for social media use. Have you thought about it? So depressed
right, sir.
people are at
Right.
home and they don't like the social contacts, right? They're already socially isolated. They don't really talk with their peers, and mostly at home. They don't have any more. They don't know how to spend their time, and
Right, sir.
naturally they are
Right.
more into social media, right? So
Yes,
this
yes.
is what is happening here. But you always jump to conclude the other way around. That is the problem here. It affects to every single one. Here is another example I tell you. I think this is a recent development in the field of biomedical sciences. By the way, I'm also a YouTuber. I do have a channel. Okay, you can just check it out, right? Felix Bast is you can just search in the YouTube. Around 14,000 subscribers, completely no monetization, and I will never run the advertisement. I don't like ads. Okay. It's a science based. So I have a science program called Curiosity that let you update what really happened in the world of science in the last month. So that is the idea of it. Okay. So one of the news which I covered in recent episode of Curiosity is a landmark paper in Alzheimer's disease. So you might know Alzheimer's disease, right? It's a dementia, right? So it's a problem with the brain. So whenever a person with Alzheimer's, so in 1970s, a very famous paper came up. They dissected, they did post-mortem on the patients who died out of Alzheimer's. And then they were looking at the neurons. And then they saw that there is a very interesting proteins. Every single person who died of Alzheimer's have this beta amyloid protein misfolding. So the protein folding is normal, but people with Alzheimer's have a different kind of folding of this particular protein. The paper came up. Then suddenly another paper came that argued that this beta amyloid misfolding is the reason that causes Alzheimer's disease. I hope that the thing is clear, right? This beta amyloid protein misfolding is the reason, the causative agent for Alzheimer's. Then so much of interest for the last 60 years. Can you believe? 100 million US dollar has been put on to Alzheimer's cure through targeting beta amyloid protein. And not a single success till date. And only last month, that second paper published in 1970 was retracted. You might know about retraction. The paper got retracted because of same cognitive bias. Which bias? Illusory correlation bias. Why? Because Alzheimer's disease and beta amyloid protein misfolding are correlated. Fine. You can conclude only that, associated or correlated. But you're saying one is causing the other. Wrong. So that is the reason why, despite pumping in 100 billion, not million, billion, 100 billion is sufficient. It's bigger than Indian economy, you see. This much amount that the companies have spent, still nothing happened. The reason is that the beta amyloid protein misfolding is not the cause. It is a consequence of Alzheimer's disease. The cause is something else. It evades us, right? We still have to know about it. So that is why this, whenever you hear these two things are correlated, never ever jump to conclusion. Yes? Yes? Anyone want to say? Yeah. So yeah, this is a very important problem. Okay, it is called confounding or illusory correlation bias. Okay, let me introduce to yet another very famous cognitive bias. I'll take you to 1970s again, Scotland. So in the UK, the Scotland, right? The Scotland have one of the very famous veterinarists was looking at his registry in his clinic, pet clinic, right? What he was looking at is the cat injuries. Whenever a cat is falling from a high-rise building. So when a cat is falling from first floor, how much was the injury? then second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor. He saw that cats falling from first floor have so much of injury. Then second floor, injury is less. Third floor, much, much less. Fourth floor onwards and fifth floor, almost nil. Then he published it, that finding in very influential British journal called Nature. Even today, Nature is one of the best journal. What is happening here? So immediately after the publication, people started, discussing about it. Then there are smart philosophers in London. And philosophers saw this and they immediately spotted there is a cognitive bias going on. And the bias is called survivorship bias. What is happening? Anyone have any clue on it? What is the biasness here? Yes, so I think somebody is speaking. Can you please unmute and speak? Dr. Sanjeev, you want to say something? No. Anyone want to speak? You can unmute and say, wow, what is happening? Why this cat falling from second floor? First floor, the injury is less. Second floor, much less.
I think they might be changing the surface area while falling. So that could have less impact when they touch the ground.
Surface area, yeah. People, the academicians want to make it really complicated, right? And so they invent the reasons why would this be, right? If I ask this question in my class, the students are also like that. The student also will invent. Maybe a cat falling from fifth floor have more time, you see, like instead of like 2 seconds from first floor, fifth floor will have 9 seconds. So they get more reaction time, you see. So more time means the cat can think the right way to land optimally, aerodynamically optimal. Like for paw, it can land so that the injury is less. No, that is not the answer. It's beyond that. It's, you should think out of the box. That is exactly the critical thinking.
There could be, it seems there could be only one factor, time.
Yeah, time. No,
Time.
something else
So-
is going on. Yeah, because we have
Sir,
this tendency.
me.
Yes, Dr. Pawan.
I think because of velocity.
Velocity, yeah, G-force, right? Many people say like it's
So
something to
momentum
do
will
with
be
the
more when
G-force.
falling from height. So momentum will be more. So they will have
Yeah.
more
That
impact.
means
So if the
when
more
it comes
higher
to
velocity,
from 90 floor,
yeah,
9th floor, when it is reaches to the ground, the velocity becomes 0. That means decreases.
yeah, velocity is
first
0. Any
floor-
object hitting on the floor, yeah, it becomes 0, yeah. But the force at which
I
it
mean,
hits is higher, isn't
Force
it?
is going
When
to
you
be
go,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, force
So
is
it's
going to be
become more
happening.
lethal, yeah. Then, but why injury is less? There is no problem with
So
this
that's
data.
why
The data is
injuries-
fine. Yeah. Okay, anyway, I will come to this in a short while. I will take you to another, right? I will take you to Germany during World War time, right? So they have a lot of bomber, right? Fighter bomber jet, right? The jet aircraft that bombs the enemy warfield and come back. So the aircraft engineers were looking at this bomber jet to see the bullet marks, right? They want to know which areas get hit by the bullets. They saw a very interesting pattern. Most of the bullets are hitting below the wings or the tail, right? Only these two regions, not the nose, the nose of the aircraft, no fuselage, not on engine, no problem, not on the belly, no problem. Most of the bullets are hitting either below the wings or tail. Then they thought, okay, these regions are the one which gets most of the bullet marks. So let us make them stronger. So strong in the sense that they replace that metal with a different metal with higher tensile strength, but density is same. Like aluminum, it's a lightweight. It doesn't have an impact on its flight aerodynamic, the aerodynamic potentials, right? Everything is same, but it becomes more stronger. So now many historians of the World War say this decision is the reason why Germany lost the World War. One simple decision which they made. After this change was implemented, they started losing more and more flight. And then finally they lost the World War. So it is a rational decision, isn't it? It's a common sense that when more these areas have more bullet mark, that means that let us strengthen that area. But that was a bad decision. Philosophers said, well, there is a problem with the philosophy, the critical thinking. There is a bias in that decision. Survivorship bias, same bias about the cat. What is happening? Anyone has an answer? It can be wrong, no problem. Just I want to make it a little bit interactive. Otherwise, it's so boring, right? It will be boring for me too. Anyone want to say anything about it? What is happening here? Okay, I think you're completely clueless. So let me give, anyone? Dr. Pavan Krishna, sorry. Dr. Pavan, you want to say something? No, you're muted. Please unmute.
Can reply in Hindi also, no problem.
You can say, you can speak in Hindi. I can understand, no problem. Or if you're really shy, you can type on the chat box. I can read your your answers in the chat box. What is happening here? Okay, I will give the solution, right? For this problem, the issue which they've looked at is that they were looking at a selective data. They are not seeing the full picture. Aircraft engineers, ideally, they should have seen every single aircraft, but they are looking at only those aircraft which is actually coming back to the airstrip. So the right way to conclude this observation would have been, despite bullets hitting on tail and wings, it can still able to come back to the airstrip. That means these areas are not lethal. No problem if a bullet is hitting a tail. No problem, bullet is hitting the wings. No issues at all. But what about the bullet hitting other areas? For example, fuselage or nose or the belly or the engine? Gone. That leads to a crash of the aircraft. So ideally, they should have strengthened those areas, not the wings or tail. I hope it's clear to you now. They should have thought vice versa. They should have applied this critical thinking in their decision making. They haven't. So it was a very costly mistake the aircraft engineers committed. So whenever you see a data, you should see the full picture, not the piecemeal, not the selective, data points. That is a very common error that we all makes in our everyday life.
Right, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now I think you are aware of this survivorship bias. This happened because you're not seeing the full picture. You're seeing only those who survived it. Now, can you have any idea about what happened in our cat example? Can anyone throw the light? Why cats falling from high-rise building, injury is less? Well, the answer is death. Same thing, aircraft is crashing, cats are dying. If you're an owner of a pet cat and the cat fell from 5th floor and died, will you take it to a veterinarist? No, right? You are taking only the injured cats to a veterinarist. So a veterinarist writing this paper, his data itself is selected. So it's a selection bias happening. You're looking at only those cats which survived the fall, and naturally more cats are surviving the fall from 1st floor. Right? So don't concentrate only on those who survives. Think the full picture. Look at the full picture, right? Many things, many cats are not surviving. Many aircrafts are missing. So you should include that also while making the decision, right? Survivorship bias is everywhere. So like this, we have so much biases happening in our everyday life. Even the advertisement. To give a simple example, I studied in government school in Kerala, right? I'm from Kerala. So all the government school I studied in Malayalam medium till class 10th. Everything was in Malayalam. And I used to read a newspaper in Kerala. We have one of the very famous newspaper is Madhubhumi, right? We used to read that Madhubhumi. I'm sure in your place too, anywhere in India, right? If you read any newspaper, those days Madhubhumi had advertisement, a small box ad on the front page, top left corner, top right corner. And the advertisements say that, well, please buy our talisman, the mantrik to tie on your wrist or on your this one. This is scientifically made. That is what the advertisements say. And this will cure your illness, whatever be, like cancer or diabetes or whatnot, right? Anything, the heart problem, no issue, just tie it. You're not married, you have any problem finding your partner? No issues, just tie this. It's scientifically made. Do you have any problem with having finding a job? You're an unemployed youth. You want to get a good job? No problem. You buy this, tie it. And the advertisement say government approved. That is confusing, right? I was so shocked to see that this advertisement, even today, the same Madhubhumi or any newspaper, you will see thousands of this kind of advertisement. Government approved. And now if you really look at deeply, it's a very small font, right? You need to have a handheld, lens. Then you will see it is GMP certification number is provided. Government approval, there is a number also, GMP certification. Well, what is happening? Everybody will be confused. Everybody will think, okay, it is a government certified, means that government is vouching that this stuff works. And government is vouching that this is safe to use. Well, this is an external, no problem. But then there are advertisement of supplements, that you can consume. You're eating something. Well, what is missing here? It is a very famous bias, rather logical fallacy called ignoratio elenchi. Ignoratio elenchi is missing the point. So what that advertisement miss is, what exactly is GMP? That's up to you to search out, right? GMP certification is good manufacturing practices. Any company can get it. Even a bucket, plastic bucket in your bathroom can have GMP certificate, provided that the bucket factory has toilet facility, provided that the bucket factory do not employ child labor, and also they don't, enslave their employee. It's a very simple checklist. Any company in the world can get this GMP certificate. But the certificate number is provided in the advertisement, government certified. They are not lying, but they are misleading. This advertisement completely mislead the people like you and me. And we will think that this certification means the government is vouching for the quality or the efficacy. No, that is called bias. That is a logical fallacy called ignoratio elenchi, right? So we have this cognitive biases and logical fallacies. So logical fallacy is something to deductive logic, while cognitive biases are for the inductive logic. So to discuss this logic, it beyond the scope of this small talk, but to give an idea, the logical fallacies are axiomatic. You don't really need to know the validity. Just by the way argument is formed, you will know that it's true or false. One of the another very interesting logical fallacy has a very fancy name. It's all this Latin name, right? All these Latin philosophers coined out these systemic biases. The name is, post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. So that fallacy happens when an argument takes this route. Y happened before X. X happened before Y. Therefore, X caused Y to happen. So whenever somebody is arguing that X happened before Y, there are two incidents, right? X and Y. So X happened before Y happened. Therefore, X caused Y to happen. We have seen that during COVID-19 time. Do you remember COVID-19 is caused by which virus? It's simple. Come on, anyone. Coronavirus is that's very it's very basic, right? Coronavirus, but the more specific, it is called SARS-CoV-2, right? SARS-CoV-2 virus.
Yes.
Second variant. Okay. So now, well, you might know about this virus detected where in the world first time? SARS-CoV-2. China. Where in China?
Beijing.
No.
Wuhan.
Correct.
Wuhan. Sorry.
Dr. Maruti Krunal, you're right. The Wuhan is the right answer. And you might have heard about a lot of conspiracy theories going on, right? Wuhan had a coronavirus lab, Chinese government lab from 1990s onwards, right? So coronavirus lab happened during 1990s, and after that 2019, this virus, again coronavirus, first time detected in Wuhan. How come this coincidence happened? Now people started arguing because, this Chinese government already have the coronavirus lab in that city. This lab released it. So it's a man-made virus. The Chinese released this virus, the SARS-CoV. It's basically the lab-made conspiracy theory. Does it have any issues with critical thinking or logical fallacy? Yes. Same fallacy happened there too, right? Post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Just because there has been a lab of coronavirus in the same city, and after many years, coronavirus is also coming from there. It's because this lab caused coronavirus to release. There is no evidence for it. You see, just because X happened before Y, causing the causality, the attributing the causality to that event is wrong. So if it's not clear to you, let us imagine, what? You are in the room, right? Right now, many of you are in your room. You sneezed, okay? And just after sneezing, the power went off, the electricity went off. So will you conclude that it's because I sneezed, the power went off? No, right? So just because two events, one happened after that, you can never ever attribute. Another simple example, rooster crows every single morning before the sun rises. Therefore, rooster causes sun to rise. That is a funny example, isn't it? So, friends, the point about this talk is that we make a lot of errors with our judgments every single day. And the kind of decisions we make are suboptimal. Beware of the biases happening subconsciously in our mind. There are hundreds of such biases. I wrote a book recently. The book is here. You can see that, Life Skills. It's available from my website at a reduced rate, or in Amazon or anywhere, the booksellers. This book is mostly, it covers the critical thinking and soft skills aspect as explained in NEP 2020. The problem is that we believe so many things and we don't want to learn, right? We think that we are experts. That is a problem, right? We should never, be like writing something on the stone, right? In science, there is nothing written on stone. challenge your core belief. So whatever belief that you hold, challenge it. For example, I went to Germany for sabbatical a few years back, and I went to Berlin. Berlin is the capital, right? They have a lot of interesting museums. So one of the museum I saw in Berlin is called Topography of Terror. Very interesting museum. This museum is completely ran by government of Germany, the federal government. That is, the employers are getting money from taxpayer, like you and me. The most of us are government employees, right? And then what did I see in that museum? They are showing the real Germany. And they're telling everyone that we were wrong. We made tremendous mistakes in past. They are not glorifying their past. They are humbly saying that we were completely wrong. What did they do wrong? Holocaust. 1920s till 1940s. I wrote an article about my experience in that museum in Hindu newspaper. You can search out Lies versus Truth. The Hindu, Felix Bast. You can read my article in Hindu. You might have heard the adage that practice makes man perfect, haven't you? If you know how
Yes,
to
sir.
play chess, right? If you know play chess, so in chess there is something called ELO rating. Right? My rating is approximately 1800, which is pretty good, you know, so like a club player. So how do you improve that ELO rating? If you play chess more and more time, 100, 1000, 10,000 games, will it increase ELO rating? No. Practice makes man perfect is wrong. It's not the practice. The only way to improve your ELO rating in chess is when you make a mistake, when you fail, you should do a post-mortem. You should look back. Which move was costly? Why did I fail? What happened to my strategy? Right? That is exactly what the critical thinking is all about. Whenever you make a mistake or when somebody else make a mistake, learn from it. And our human brain, we have so much of nonsense in us. We need to unlearn. Unlearning is also a very important constituent of critical thinking. Unlearn. For example, I mean, there's so many of the myth, right? For example, if I tell you to imagine natural oxygen factories of the planet Earth. Natural oxygen factories of the planet Earth. What comes to your mind? Anyone, please say.
Tree.
Trees. A forest canopy, isn't it? A canopy full of
Forest.
trees. Yeah. So that is why 5th of June, every year we plant the trees, right? We say trees release oxygen. You know, it's an amazing, you know, it's the most important factories on the planet Earth, isn't it? For the oxygen. And what if I say it's wrong? It's myth. Friends, if you get out of the Earth, like ISS, right, International Space Station, and you look at our planet Earth, what is the color of the planet? Yes, anyone? Blue,
Green.
yes. Why blue? Because mostly the planet is ocean.
Ocean.
We have an Indian right there, right? In ISS, there is an Indian lady. Who is that? Correct, Sunita
Sunita
Williams.
Williams.
So please read beyond your subject. Okay, yes, Sunita Williams is the right one. She's not an Indian, but her Indian origin. Her father was from Gujarat, but then he settled in the US as a neurosurgeon, right? Yeah. So it's ocean. Kalpana Chawla, she was basically the origin is from Punjab. Yeah. Sunita Williams is the right answer. Kalpana Chawla is no more, right? She She passed away in a terrific Columbia disaster. Perhaps you might remember. Yeah. So anyway, Earth is mostly ocean. And do you know, if you breathe in 3 times, you can just breathe. 2 times the air comes from ocean. How many of you are aware of it? Just 2 organisms on the ocean, the plankton. These are called Prochlorococcus and Cyanococcus. If I speak this to the students, many students say, well, these are tongue twisters, Prochlorococcus. They might have ever heard of it. These 2 species of marine algae alone releases approximately 68% of the oxygen in the air that we breathe. Can you believe it? And even then, the school textbooks don't even touch that topic. Forget school, BSc Botany. How many of the BSc Botany students are aware of this fact? Almost nil.
Never, sir, never.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is why trusting only the textbook is wrong. So critical thinking skills you can develop only if you read beyond your academic books. Reading for joy. How many of us do that? That's an extremely important skill. Okay, I was talking about ISS and looking the Earth, right? Earth is blue planet, the blue marble. I'll ask another question. From the space, some versions say from the moon, if you look the planet Earth, you can see only one man-made object. Which object is that?
Great Wall of China.
Yes, Dr. Milind. Yeah, it happens in our quiz, right? Right, your children also. Some of you have children in school, and usually this question comes often in school quiz competitions, right? The only man-made object visible from the space or visible from the moon. Myth. No, it is not visible. From the moon, nothing is visible. Just the blue planet is visible. It's too far away. From the space, you can see the cloud. You can see the ocean, and also the big continents like Asia and Africa. That's it. Not any the man-made structure is visible from the space. Well, provided you're not looking through the telescope. If you have powerful telescope, almost everything is visible. Even your home is visible. How many of you have seen your home from the space? If you haven't, just go check out Google, right? Google Map has satellite view. You can check your home from the space. So that's a myth. So that myth origin is basically 1900. So 1910, Replace was a comic TV show in the US. They just said out of fun that Great Wall of China is visible from the space. It was a fun, it's a comedy. And the rest of the world thought, oh, Americans are saying that. It must be true. No, it is not true. It's a myth. Well, I gave you one more example. Fill up the blanks. Dash is the most important meal of the day. The food, the meal. Dash is the most important meal of the day. Which meal is the most important? Anyone?
Breakfast.
Protein.
Yes. Breakfast, Dr. Tushar. Well, everyone knows. Huh? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Why? Well, it has been said by forefathers and foremothers, right? Ancient wisdom, isn't it? For the last millennia, 2 millennia, 3 millennia, people were saying that wisdom, right? No. Again, a myth. Do you know origin of this? Kellogg's, the American industrialist, Kellogg's in 1900s. He used this as an advertisement tagline to sell his cornflakes in the US. And after that, rest of the world thought, wow, this is an aphorism. This is a proverbial wisdom. Not at all. If you look our human evolutionary legacy, We never had a proper 3 meals a day. It is a recent innovation. 1800s onwards, and before that we didn't have it. Days would go that we had any food, and when we get food we feast on it. And that is why most of the religions of the world, fasting is part of it. Even in Hinduism, isn't it? Fasting days are proper. So that is the relics of the ancient culture, not the breakfast. So many myths that we have, friends. We need to unlearn these myths. So that is also an extremely important, the angle of the critical thinking. So yeah, it's the nutshell. The critical thinking is to be aware that your decisions are influenced by various subconscious biases as well as logical fallacies. So the only option you have is to be aware of these logical fallacies and cognitive biases so that you can exercise your volition and make better decision making. And as I told you, decision making is everywhere, right? Not just in academic papers. Oh, well, I forgot to tell you what really happened in our first example, right? What was the first example? G7 countries in breast cancer. What is happening there? In Japan, for example, every female in high school onwards have to undergo for mammogram screening every year. Annual mammogram, which is free and compulsory. No excuse to escape unless you have valid medical reason. Everybody has to undergo, and it's completely free. And because more testing, more cancer. And as you know, in breast cancer, early detection is the key. If the cancer is detected at young age, they survive. In Japan, the life expectancy is 88 years. They live really long. Even cancer, breast cancer, if you see the people died out of cancer, is very low. Though incidence rate is high. Incidence rate doesn't mean that people are dying out of it. No. Cancer therapeutics have advanced a lot. So two things are correlated doesn't mean that they are causing effect on another, right? That is also a cognitive bias called illusory correlation bias, which we just introduced, right, in this talk. So yeah, learning should never stop. Lifelong learning is the key. And don't think that you're smart. None of us are smart, right? We should be always open for challenging our core belief, because there should be nothing written on the stone. So that's all I would like to end here. And in case any one of you have any questions, I'm open for your questions or comments. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
The critical thinking is very vast area of the philosophy.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Your very nice lecture.
Thank you so much, sir. Very nice presentation and very good information.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Thank you so much. And I shared the link of my channel. In case you're interested, please check it out. And in case you want to contact me, you can just Google and you can find I'm everywhere in the internet. Okay, Felix Bast is my name. Yeah, thank you once again. And yeah, I wish you the very best for the rest of this FDP.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Pandey sir, question any faculty and participant
Yeah,
side?
anyone has any questions? So I'm open here. Any questions or clarifications needed? Yeah.
कोई कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं?
आप हिंदी में भी बोल सकता है, बोल दीजिए.
Hello.
Yes.
Any precaution for the critical thinking? Any some key points?
Any key point?
Well, the key point is basically the question mark, right? So question everything, without proper evidence, you should never ever believe it, right? Carl Sagan very famously said, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidences.
Okay.
Right? So without extraordinary evidence, how can you believe something at its face value? So there are so many biases. For example, argumentum ad verecundium. Just because some person is an authority and whatever the person say must be true. No, need not be. Argumentum ad, that is basically the argumenting towards, right? That is how the most of the logical fallacies start, right? So, for example, something which is most of the people in the world, the population, believe something. Does it mean it must be true? Need not be. Argumentum ad populum, right? Or ad populum bias. A very popular, or, it is, for example, lying is pretty popular, right? Since time immemorial, people have been lying. Does it validate that lying is good? Not really. So just because something is popular doesn't mean that it's good. You see, that is, so one of the very famous critical thinker of our time, not even our time, much older, is Copernicus, Nicolaus Copernicus, right?
Okay.
So Copernicus, before Copernicus, the Ptolemy period thought that the Earth is the center of the universe, right? At least the solar system, every single celestial body is revolving around us. Well, Copernicus said that, no, that is not the case. I have got evidence to say that, well, we are a planet. We are revolving around the sun. Completely shifted, transformed the paradigm after the Copernicus. Then come Bruno. Bruno is an Italian astronomer. The poor guy said, well, I also have proof that what Copernicus said is absolutely correct. Well, Bruno, poor guy, was from Italy, surrounded by Catholics. And Middle Ages, the religion was super strong. And they said that it's blasphemy. And the punishment is burning alive. Bruno was burned alive. And he famously said before he was, he was killed, just before that, he famously said, the truth doesn't depend upon how many people believe in it or not. Right? So, yeah, so in summary, the critical thinking is at least to be aware that some of these biases that going to affect our decision making. That is the first step. You can search in YouTube. There are excellent videos. And not just my YouTube, but there are so many other YouTubers. And you can even ask your ward, your children, to watch these videos in your mother tongue. For example, in Malayalam or Hindi or whatever be your language, right? These biases, the volunteers like you and me, devoted our time to make several of these videos. Okay, so yeah, you can search these videos in the YouTube and watch it with some examples, right? So that is also a very important. And another important tip, which I already discussed in our today's talk, is don't merely trust your textbook.
Okay.
So have a habit of reading beyond your textbook, especially reading for as a joy. How many of us read for entertainment, read for joy?
Yes.
If you go here in Punjab, where I'm talking to you from, in Punjab, the local bookshop, if I go, most of the books are for IAS, UPSC coaching, bank coaching, and PSC of the Punjab government, or the guidebooks of our IIT, JEE, right? How many books are there for joy? Extremely less. Unfortunately, the reading for joy is vanishing from the culture. So that we need to bring it back. Einstein, right? Today's talk, I started from Einstein. Somebody asked him, what is the speed of sound? To which he replied, I don't remember. It's there in the books. So NEP 2020 or so, many places in NEP highlights something called rote learning and coaching culture. This term, coaching culture. Control F, search in that document. It's only 60 pages, right? NEP 2020. Coaching culture appears so many places. Because the document severely criticized this coaching culture. In our country, we have this coaching culture, right? That the learning is just rote memorization. So there is a difference between education and learning. Do you know what is the difference? Education is establishment driven, while learning is self-driven. Education is oriented towards a degree, while learning is not. Learning is a skill. Learning is internal. Yeah, you want to learn some concept. So that is why I never equate education with learning. Yeah. So these are some of the tips.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very nice, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It was nice, very nice lecture.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice lecture. And this is the critical thinking.
Sir, I have, excuse me.
Yes.
I have one request. Can you share your YouTube channel?
I already
link?
shared, sir. It is there in the message.
Where it's.
I can share again. Yeah, this is the YouTube channel. Okay.
So you have shared it on WhatsApp group?
No, it is in the chat box of this Zoom, right?
Oh.
You can open the chat
Okay.
and then you can see it.
Okay. Thank you. Got it.
उसको व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में डाल दीजिए तुषार, वहां से कॉपी कर. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, sir.
And critical thinking, the education pattern which we have in last 100 years, ये जो पैटर्न है सर, ये सबसे पहले हमारा क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग को खराब किया, नष्ट किया. Because in the 18th century onwards, higher education of this country, the one author who is the scientist, like, for example, Einstein is the scientist. He invented energy in something way. Okay. Second person who wrote the book, and he referred the Einstein. Third person who refer the Einstein through the second person book. And fourth person is written through the third person.
Yeah.
Now, presently, बहुत से ऐसी जगह आई कि nobody goes to read the own article of the Einstein. I'm not saying Einstein, but because the जो मूल जहां से निकला है, nobody is interested to read that thing. In the economics, in the sociology, in the philosophy, everywhere. Nobody is reading philosophy in original Upanishad. पर वो उसके बाद की बहुत सारी किताबें पढ़ेंगे. तो उससे क्या हुआ है कि the critical thinking cannot be exit. अगर आप एक उसका दूसरा एक्चुअल पहलू, उसकी ओरिजिनलिटी को नहीं देखेंगे, तो आप आगे आते 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 आपके अंदर एक मैकेनिकल थिंकिंग चलती चली जाएगी. यस, इट इज ट्रू, इट इज ट्रू, इट इज ट्रू, करते 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 करते, पर वो बेस जो ओरिजिनल में होना चाहिए वो वहां से नहीं आएगा. जब बेस नहीं आएगा तो फिर अब आप देखिए सर, एट प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो, पॉलिटिकल इन्वायरमेंट हम बोलना चाहिए, इस पे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. पॉलिटिकल इन्वायरमेंट और सोशल मीडिया इन्वायरमेंट, 80% पर्सन जो है वो इम्प्रेस्ड होते हैं सोशल मीडिया के रिपोर्ट के आधार पे, और वो बायस्ड हो जाते हैं। और अभी आप ये देखिए कि इन द एजुकेशन फील्ड अभी तो खैर थोड़ा चेंज हुआ है, इसके पहले प्रोफेसर्स आर बायस्ड इन कम्युनिज्म, प्रोफेसर आर बायस्ड इन सोशलिज्म, प्रोफेसर्स आर बायस्ड इन कैपिटलिज्म, एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू बायस्ड उससे दे एक्सप्लेन द एवरीथिंग, और उसको पकड़ना, द ट्रिक्स क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग। आपने सर बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से एक ओरिजिनल बेस पे जाके एनालिटिकल मेथड से कैसे एनालिसिस करना है, कैसे इस चीज को समझना है, द फंटास्टिक लेक्चर। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
Yeah, thank you, sir. Glad to hear.
एनीवन? Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
इसीलिए
sir.
इसीलिए सर
Good, sir.
आप लोग को मैं इस लेक्चर को थोड़ा सा आगे कुछ बोल सकता हूँ आप विद्वान गण के बीच में,
बिल्कुल सर।
अगर
बिल्कुल
आप
सर, बिल्कुल। Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ
Yes, sir.
सर,
Yes.
बिल्कुल सर, बोलिए
Yes,
सर।
sir.
साइंस का ये रिफ्रेशर कोर्स है। अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं कि किसी एक साइंटिस्ट का नाम बताइए, इंडिया क्या, जो 200 एडी का रहा हो। नहीं मालूम?
Can
किसी
you repeat
एक
question, please?
इंडियन साइंटिस्ट का नाम बताइए जो 200 से 700 एडी में रहा हो। नो। ओके, किसी एक साइंटिस्ट का नाम बताइए इन ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड जो 800 से 1200 एडी में रहा हो।
सर, आर्यभट्टा।
नो सर, मैम आई एम आर्यभट्टा। ओके,
चरका सर।
ऐसे
चरका।
साइंटिस्ट ऑल ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड के किसी साइंटिस्ट का नाम बताइए, फिजिक्स के, केमिस्ट्री के, इसके, बायोसाइंस के जो 1000 एडी से लेके 1400 एडी के बीच के रहे हैं। चलिए और आगे बढ़ते हैं। 1400 एडी से लेके 1600 एडी।
आइंस्टाइन।
ओके, वो 1800 में है आइंस्टाइन। वो
न्यूटन।
जगदीश चंद्र बसु के साथ के थे। 1800 के है आइंस्टाइन तो, है ना। 1600 थोड़ा टफ हो गया। 1800 जब मैं बोलूंगा तो आप बहुत सारे साइंटिस्टों का नाम बता देंगे। जैसे ही मैं 1800 पे पहुंचूंगा तो आप बहुत सारे साइंटिस्टों का नाम बताएं। ओके, वेस्टर्न साइंटिस्ट में किसी का नाम बताइए जो बीसी में थे, बिफोर क्राइस्ट। बताइए नियाज सर, आपको मालूम है? बताइए बिफोर क्राइस्ट साइंटिस्ट का नाम। सब तो थे सर, प्लेटो था, एरिस्टोटल था, ये सारे के सारे आर्किमिडीज थे, ये सारे के सारे क्या थे? ये सारे के सारे साइंटिस्ट थे ना सर, है ना। ये लोग सब 300 बीसी और इसके आसपास के थे। उसके बाद
आर्किमिडीज थे।
आर्किमिडीज कब के थे बताओ?
बिफोर क्राइस्ट सर।
हाँ, 400,
मे बी।
400 प्लेटो के पहले। तो ये लोग सब ये जो ये साइंटिस्ट थे, बट हम इनको इंक्लूड नहीं करते हैं साइंटिस्ट में। ठीक है, आइडियलिज्म साइंटिस्ट में इनोवेट किया था प्लेटो ने। ठीक है, सोक्रेटिस को देखकर इन्वेंट किया था। और ये जो आपका बहुत अच्छे मैथमेटिशियन थे और बहुत अच्छे ये लोग हर प्रकार के साइंस का इनको नॉलेज था प्लेटो को। चलिए, इंडिया में जब हम लोग आते हैं तो हम किसका, आर्यभट्ट का नाम लेते हैं। हम ना कभी कपिल मुनि को जानते हैं, हम ना कोई गौतम मुनि को जानते हैं, हम ना मतलब हम इनको जानते ही नहीं है। चलिए, ये तो बहुत पहले के थे। उसके बाद में हम शंकराचार्य को नहीं जानते हैं, हम रामानुजाचार्य को नहीं जानते हैं, हम जैसे वल्लभाचार्य को नहीं जानते हैं। ठीक है, ये सब क्या थे, हर चीज साइंटिफिक इन्वेंशन करते थे एवरीवेयर। उनका आप ग्रंथ पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री मैथमेटिक्स सब मिलेगा। इन्वेंट करते थे, प्रैक्टिकल करते थे, उसके ऊपर में लिखा करते थे। ये ओरिजिन्स हैं, ओरिजिन्स। मैं बहुत छोटा आदमी हूं आप लोगों के सामने। मेरे मेरे बोलने के लहजे में आप लोग मत आइएगा, मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो बस सुनिएगा, ठीक है ना। क्योंकि ये मेरा दर्द है एक प्रकार का, तो वो मैं इस चीज को देखता हूँ तो कभी कभी वो होता है। क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग की चूंकि बात हो रही थी, इसीलिए मेरे दिमाग में ये बात आई कि जब मैं पीएचडी कर रहा था, एमए कर चुका था, एमफिल कर चुका था और पीएचडी कर रहा था, और पीएचडी के भी 2.5 साल निकल चुके थे। उस समय मेरा टॉपिक था श्रीमद् भगवत गीता एंड उपनिषद। ठीक, मैंने सबको पढ़ लिया, गांधी जी को पढ़ लिया, राधा कृष्ण को पढ़ लिया, तिलक को पढ़ लिया, व्हाट्सो एवर, है ना। लेकिन ओरिजिनल भगवत गीता नहीं पढ़ा था।
जो व्यास
उस,
ने लिखी।
हाँ, उसके बाद मेरे दिमाग में आया कि मैं जब उपनिषद और भगवत गीता पे बात करता हूं तो मेरे को ओरिजिनल पढ़ना चाहिए भाई। उसके बाद देखेंगे किसने क्या बोला। तब आ गई क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग। जैसे ही उसको पढ़ा तो समझा क्या बेवकूफ बनाते हैं। पहले तो ये दिमाग में आया, फिर दिमाग में आया नहीं, बेवकूफ नहीं बनाते, वो उनकी उस एक स्पेसिफिक एरिया पर वो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे होल पर कर रहे हैं, मगर वो किसी स्पेसिफिक एरिया पे कर रहे हैं। लेकिन बात तब समझ में आई जब मैंने ओरिजिनल पढ़ा। तब मुझे लगा कि 18th सेंचुरी के बाद में कितनी बेवकूफी भरी बातें लिखी गई बड़ी बड़ी किताबों में। क्या पढ़ रहे हैं हम लोग, ये देखकर बड़ा खराब लगा। और फिर मैंने सोशल साइंसेस में कई लोगों से पूछा, आप इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ाते हैं, बहुत अच्छा है, एडम स्मिथ के आर्टिकल का नाम बताइए। जब वो नहीं बोल पाए तो फिर लगा कि बच्चे कहाँ से फिर वहां पहुंच पाएंगे। और अगर कोई भी फिलोसोफर है, कोई भी थिंकर है, जब तक हम उसके ओरिजिनल आर्टिकल को नहीं पढ़ेंगे इन साइंस एंड सोशल साइंस बोथ, तब तक तो मजा नहीं आएगा। तब तक क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग का बेस्ड ही खत्म हो जाएगा। ये तो हो गई सब्जेक्ट की बात। और इन जनरल एनवायरनमेंट में भी बायस्ड नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन एनवायरनमेंट जो है वो बायस्ड करता है। अभी मैंने एक थिंकर का नाम बताया था, वो बोला था कि यदि 100 लोग इस चीज को ट्रूथ मानते हैं तो क्या मैं भी इस चीज को ट्रूथ मानूं। लेकिन मैं मानता हूं वो 100 जो है वही इन्वायरमेंट है, वो आपको खींच ले जाएगा उसकी तरफ। तो क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग क्या काम करेगा कि वो ओरिजिनल को देखने की कोशिश करेगा, उसके तह पर जाने की कोशिश करेगा, उसके प्रूफ्स को देखने की कोशिश करेगा, उसके एग्जैक्ट बात को देखने की कोशिश करेगा। एक व्यक्ति जो होगा तो हम उसको, अब आपको जैसे मैं एक एग्जांपल के तौर पे बताऊं, जब मैं आइंस्टीन को पढ़ने के लिए गया तो मैंने बोला कि नहीं भैया, पहले तो देखूंगा कि ये पैदा कहाँ हुआ। पहले तो देखूंगा कि इनके पिताजी क्या करते थे, पहले तो देखूंगा कि ये कितने भाई बहन थे, पहले तो देखूंगा कि ये कहाँ पढ़े थे, पहले तो देखूंगा कि ये एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट ट्रांसफर होकर जब गए तो इनकी क्या कंडीशन थी। मेरी समझ में आएगा तब जब उनकी जीवनी से ये देखूंगा, तो मैं बोलूंगा ये ऐसे ये व्यक्ति थिंकर बनता चला गया। तो वहां से व्यक्ति को पहचानने की, समझने की, सब्जेक्ट को पहचानने की, समझने की जो बेस है, वो बेस होना चाहिए। इस बेस के लिए नदी की धारा में उल्टा बहना पड़ता है। मतलब जो हमारे पास है, हम उसको लेके धारा में आगे 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 बढ़ाते चले जा रहे हैं, पर जैसे ही आप क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग पे पहुंचे, तो आपको उस धारा की विपरीत धारा में तैरना पड़ेगा। इसको बोलते हैं सेकंड ऑर्डर ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट। आप लोग का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बड़े बड़े प्रोफेसर लोगों के सामने बोल लेता हूं, इसलिए क्षमा करिएगा, ठीक है? ओके सर।
थैंक यू फॉर सर, कुछ की आपने बताई, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
फिलोसफी वाले कहीं
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much,
थैंक यू
sir.
सर।
Thank you, sir.
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू सो मच। आलोक सर।
Thank you.
Sir, sir.
जी, सब ठीक है ना?
जी सर, जी।
ठीक, ओके। हम लोग कल मिलते हैं 10:30 पे। कल
Okay, sir.
लेक्चर, कल लेक्चर है, थोड़ा सा बता दूं आप लोग को।
ओके
कल अमृता वेलई मैडम का लेक्चर है। सी इज प्रोफेसर इन बायोलॉजी, आचार्य नागार्जुन यूनिवर्सिटी, गुंटूर।
प्रेजेंट लिंक भेजो सर।
क्या सर, संतोष सर?
प्रेजेंट लिंक
अटेंडेंस लिस्ट,
प्रेजेंट
अटेंडेंस लिंक की बात कर रहे हैं सर।
अच्छा, प्रेजेंट अटेंडेंस। हाँ सर, वो भेज रहा हूँ, तुरंत भेज रहा हूँ।
यस सर, यस सर, यस।